A loser named Zhang Heiyi is a high school student who is antisocial. His only friends are his phone and his left hand. The guy avoids people like it's his job. But one day, something happens that makes him the king of a harem when this super cute girl named Zia walks into class, heads straight for Heiyi, and tells him she's pregnant with his kid. Everyone's jaws hit the floor. Nobody thought this antisocial loser could even talk to a girl, let alone be a dad. Heiyi, now a dad out of nowhere, is angry because he doesn't even know this troublesome girl. His friends accuse him of only wanting to Netflix and chill without taking responsibility. Heiyi's life turns into a wild game of tag, getting chased by jealous single dudes who wish they were him. As he's running for his life, he gets pulled into the girls' bathroom by Xuan, the sports club president. She's mad, thinking he's her boyfriend, and gives him a solid slap out of jealousy. Poor Heiyi can't catch a break. She threatens to kick his sausage, unless he spills the truth. And just when he thinks things can't get weirder, another girl, Lin Yuan, shows up and hugs him, claiming he's the father of her kids. Heiyi is shocked because he doesn't know Lin Yuan or have kids with her. Now, everyone's chasing him up to the rooftop. Fed up, Heiyi yells that he doesn't know any of these girls, but nobody believes him. With no other option, he decides to jump off the roof, hoping this nightmare ends. But right as he jumps, time freezes. A goddess named May appears and grabs him by the collar, furious because he ate some magical chocolate. Apparently, this love-struck candy made every girl fall for him, and now Heiyi's life is doomed to be filled with obsessive girls and NPC angry classmates. Subscribe, comment, and like to get your hands on that chocolate. Luckily, the magic will wear off if Heiyi can fulfill each girl's wish. The next day, Heiyi and Zia went to the clinic for a pregnancy test. Heiyi was relieved when the results showed Zia wasn't pregnant, but Zia was confused. She swore something was moving in her stomach, but it definitely wasn't pizza. She promised she'd try harder to get pregnant and even suggested some Netflix and chill to speed things up. Then, Zia invited Heiyi to her house, and turns out she's rich and even has bodyguards. But even though Zia seems lucky, her life wasn't as perfect as it looked. Her huge mansion felt empty because her dad, the only family she had, was always away on business. Not long after they got there, one of the bodyguards heard that some loser named Heiyi had disrespected Zia. Of course, they all rushed in and started beating him up. In Zia's attempt to help, she said that even though Heiyi was broke, useless, and unemployed, she'd still marry him. That did not calm anyone down. Instead, the bodyguards got even more furious and pounded Heiyi harder. Zia dragged Heiyi away to her room, where he noticed an old calendar from last year. On it, Zia had written memories of the rare times she had meals with her dad. In a desperate move, Heiyi called her father and said he'd kidnapped his precious daughter, thinking it would get him to come home. But instead, her dad showed up with an elite SWAT team, so naturally, Heiyi got beat up for the millionth time. With his bruised up self, Heiyi confronted Zia's dad, telling him he had failed as a father. Even with the mansion and bodyguards, what Zia wanted most was just family love. Heiyi showed the old calendar, reminding Zia's dad of their happier days together. Thanks to Heiyi's sacrifice and a lot of bruises, Zia finally got to spend time with her father again. She even gave Heiyi a kiss as thanks for helping her. And the magic love spell from the chocolate, it wore off after all that. The next day at school, Heiyi bumped into Zia, who still remembered his useless ugly face. Confused by all this, Heiyi asked May for an explanation. May told him that if the magic chocolate spell wore off, Zia's memory of it should disappear too. But since Zia already liked Heiyi before the whole chocolate drama, she still remembered him and everything that happened. Then, out of nowhere, a Yandir girl named Zuli, armed to the teeth, stormed in. Turns out, she was Heiyi's childhood friend and also under the chocolate's love spell, making her completely obsessed with him. She immediately gave Heiyi a kiss that makes you jealous. Later, during lunch, Zia found Heiyi and asked him out on a date, which he accepted. But on his way back to class, he ran into Xuan, who seemed to be in a terrible mood. Without warning, Xuan slapped Heiyi's ugly face and broke up with her, even though they never dated. Heiyi couldn't care less. Annoyed, Xuan took her anger out on her sports club members by making them do 500 push-ups like they were training for the Olympics. They even got soaked with water for disobeying her. Haoyi, being the genius he is, tried to stop her madness but accidentally sprayed her with the hose, leaving Xuan completely drenched. The next morning, Haoyi woke up to find Zuli hovering over him, and that's not creepy at all. She somehow snuck in and, upon learning Haoyi was going on a date, locked him in his room. Desperate, Haoyi asked his parents for help, but they didn't care because he was useless. He had to climb out the window just to meet Zia. When Haoyi finally met Zia at their date spot, things got awkward. It was their first date, after all. To lighten the mood, Haoyi suggested they check out a Japanese-themed event. There, they spotted a cosplayer stealing the show. And it was Xuan, the scariest student in school, dressed in something super cute. Meanwhile, Zuli found out Haoyi had escaped and went hunting for him, sword in hand. Xuan pulled them aside, begging them not to tell anyone about her costume because it would ruin her tough reputation. Soon, the cosplay competition started, but Xuan couldn't participate because it required teams of 3. Zia suggested they form a group, so Haoyi had no choice but to join. Dressed in a bunny girl costume, Haoyi transformed from a useless guy into an adorable girl, so much so that even Zuli, who was ready to kill him, stopped to take pictures of his new, beautiful self. Things took a turn when Xuan discovered her costume had been ruined, which left her devastated because she'd made it by hand. She ran off, leaving Haoyi and Zia in a panic. Haoyi rushed to the bathroom, thinking of a way to win. Mei appeared and offered her help. Haoyi came up with a plan, and when it was time to perform, he stumbled on stage, embarrassing himself. But somehow, he turned his clumsy act into a hilarious routine that had the audience cheering. Haoyi was living his best bunny girl life, and the crowd loved it. While Haoyi was busy being the comedy star, Zia searched for Xuan, but time was running out. The audience grew restless, waiting for their favorite cosplayer, Xuan, to take the stage. Meanwhile, Xuan had been sitting in the stands, watching the whole performance with a sad expression. And because Haoyi's luck is always the worst, the railing she was sitting on suddenly broke, sending her falling to Haoyi. Just before she hit the ground, Mei stopped time and used her magic to transform their costumes. The audience went wild, cheering like they'd just seen the next big Broadway hit, and they ended up winning first place. Afterward, Haoyi, being his usual awkward self, invited Xuan to stay over at his place. Xuan shot him down instantly, calling him a useless perv. Yep, magic or no magic, she still thought he was useless. Later that night, Haoyi went to visit a certain, uniting all men woman at her apartment. That woman was Ran, his teacher. There, he spilled the beans about his childhood with Zuli. Back in the day, they were academic rivals, always fighting for the top spot. No matter how hard Zuli studied, she couldn't beat him, and out of frustration, she'd take it out on poor Haoyi with a few punches. In middle school, Haoyi decided to throw a test on purpose, just to let Zuli win for once. But during the summer, Zuli upped the stakes. She challenged Haoyi to another test, saying if she scored higher, he had to transfer to America with her. Haoyi wasn't about to let that happen, so he crushed the exam, taking the top spot again. Zuli was devastated because her crush refused to follow her to the US. Back in the present, the whole school was buzzing with gossip about Haoyi staying overnight at Ran's place. At school, Haoyi challenged Xuan and her sports club to a contest. Whoever scored the highest on the next exam could make the loser do whatever they wanted. Xuan, ever so confident in her team's skills, accepted the challenge from the so-called useless guy. She was sure they'd win, since one of her members was in the top 10. Haoyi hit the books hard, sacrificing his breaks and even his sleep to prepare. When the results came in, Haoyi crushed it, snagging first place. According to the rules, Xuan and her crew had to follow his command. Haoyi, being Haoyi, did not order Xuan to do things that men like, but wore Mei's costume for 2 weeks. But this wasn't just a weird fetish thing, well, not entirely. Haoyi hoped it would help Xuan embrace her hobbies and stop hiding behind her cool girl reputation. As Haoyi was strolling through the halls, 2 little kids suddenly ran up to him, calling him Daddy. They were the same kids Lin Yuan had mentioned before. While Haoyi was busy panicking like a bull in a china shop, Mei appeared and explained that the kids weren't real. They were created by the magic love chocolate, reflecting Lin Yuan's wishes. If Haoyi doesn't fulfill the wish, his children will continue to grow and make him a major buyer of children's milk. Just then, Lin Yuan appeared, announcing that their kids had gone missing. Haoyi set out to find them and eventually located one in the girls' locker room. But, of course, before he could escape, Xuan caught him red-handed, branding him as a full-blown perv. The little kid tried to defend his dad, but instead, he accidentally pulled on Xuan's shirt, turning her into every guy's favorite version of her. After dodging all kinds of temptations and awkward situations, Haoyi finally managed to reunite the kids with their mother. She then invited Haoyi to her house, where he was greeted by a flying knife. Turns out, not only Lin Yuan, but also her mom, was under the magic spell, thinking Haoyi was the perfect son-in-law. Everyone's getting delusional over this useless, ugly guy. Later that night, once the kids were asleep, Lin Yuan approached Haoyi and invited him to sleep together. Haoyi's brain, obviously, went straight to happy thoughts, but somehow, he managed to keep his cool and say no. Impressive for someone who's been useless this whole time. After that, Haoyi got a call from Zia, inviting him on a date to an amusement park on Sunday. Haoyi agreed, but just as his life goes, Lin Yuan also invited him to the park with the kids. He really wanted to say no, but couldn't refuse the imaginary children, so Haoyi decided to juggle both plans at once. Smooth move. Let's see how this mess goes. At the park, Haoyi spent time with Lin Yuan and the kids first. They rode different rides, had a blast, but while Lin Yuan and the kids were distracted, Haoyi slipped away to meet Zia. While they were together, Zia was about to confess her feelings when a photographer popped up, asking them to pose. Their pose was as stiff as an ID card photo, so the photographer told them to get closer. Zia took it a bit too far and just kissed Haoyi right there. Afterward, Haoyi ran to buy gifts for his imaginary children, even though he had just cheated their mother. In the store, he bumped into Xuan, who was hanging out with her friends. Just then, Zia called, asking where he was, so Haoyi, in true useless fashion, asked Xuan to go hang out with Zia while he continued his fun with Lin Yuan and the kids. When he returned to Lin Yuan, he gave the kids a stuffed toy as an apology for making them wait, definitely not for sneaking off with another girl. Then, to win back some more points, Haoyi entered a trivia competition to score some free meal vouchers. Against all odds, he used his not-so-useless brain and won. At the restaurant, Haoyi asked Lin Yuan about her father, since he hadn't seen him during his visit to her house. Lin Yuan instantly fell silent, looking sad, and walked away. Way to go, Haoyi, bring up the heavy stuff at dinner. Feeling bad, Haoyi ran after her to apologize for bringing up something so sensitive. To lighten the mood, he even got the same photographer from earlier to capture a moment of their family togetherness. Since then, Haoyi got curious about Lin Yuan's dad. So, he tracked down Lin Yuan's old elementary school teacher to dig up some info. The teacher explained that Lin Yuan used to be a cheerful kid, but everything changed when her parents left to buy milk and never came back. Ever since then, Lin Yuan's been waiting for her dad, which is why she's developed such a complex personality. Guess no one told her that parents don't usually take 10+ years to get milk. Determined to get answers, Haoyi reached out to one of his friends in the police force to investigate. Back at home, he found Zuli feeling lonely because she hadn't seen his goofy face in a while. So, she demanded he make it up to her by following all her commands. And they spent the whole night. Netflix and chilling. Yeah, that kind of chill. Don't ask. The next morning, Haoyi's cop friend gave him a list of 20 possible phone numbers for Lin Yuan's dad. Haoyi started dialing, and finally, he connected with Lin Yuan's dad, Yuki. But during their chat, Yuki said he still hadn't finished buying the milk even it's been over a decade. To make things even weirder, Yuki revealed that Lin Yuan wasn't even his biological daughter. A flashback showed that Lin Yuan's real dad, a police officer, died on duty when her mom was still pregnant. Yuki, seeing an opportunity, swooped in and married her mom, raising Lin Yuan as his own. But when Lin Yuan started school, Yuki's family pressured him to divorce her mom and disown Lin Yuan. So, Yuki had no choice but to leave them behind. Fast forward to the present. As Haoyi and Lin Yuan were picking up their imaginary kids, Lin Yuan got hit by truck Kun. Don't worry, this isn't an Ice Guy story, she just ended up in the hospital. Meanwhile, Yuki heard the news about Lin Yuan's accident and rushed to the hospital, reliving his memories with her along the way. When he arrived, he found Lin Yuan's hospital room empty and thought he missed his chance to see her. But Lin Yuan hadn't gone to another world, she was still there, and she remembered her dad's face after all these years. She ran to hug him, while Hayae, of course, sacrificed himself to save her. Classic hero move from the guy who's usually about as helpful as a phone with no Wi-Fi. In his subconscious, Hayae met his two imaginary kids. Since Lin Yuan's wish was fulfilled, the magic of the chocolate spell was fading, and the kids said their goodbyes. Hayae cried as they disappeared, finally free of the spell. A month later, Hayae was discharged from the hospital, only to be greeted by 4 girls who were all ready to wreck his sanity. Hayae may have survived Truck Kun, but I don't think he can survive this mess. Would you like to swap places with him? Comment below. Thanks for watching. If you're digging the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and give it a thumbs up because, let's be real, I could use the validation. Love you all, even the ones who just lurk and never comment.